Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Yesterday in our talk, we came to a point that we are all seeking something. So what we are seeking? The first step, we are seeking wealth so that we can be secured in life. Then after we collected lot of wealth, then we are not satisfied with that. We want to indulge. To understand this point, take an example. Suppose somebody tells me, Swamiji, you don't have money, don't worry. I put in your name in the bank $1 million. Thank you very much. No, on one condition. You cannot withdraw that. What will I do with that? So, we don't want money for the sake of money. We want money for fulfilling our desires. If there is only money and we cannot use it, what is the use of that money? Then we have the things to enjoy. How long will we enjoy? A stage comes in life that is indulgence and enjoyment can no more attract our mind. See, you are all married. You must look behind in your life. In the earlier days, how much interest, we should have this type of house, we should have this type of curtains, we should have this type of furniture, we should have this type of crockery. Slowly, as the time, theek hai, it's okay, don't worry. Now all the things which are collected in our house for last so many years, one day I was in the South Indian family somewhere, in New Zealand or somewhere, I don't remember. And South Indians, when they go out of the house, just near the door, they have vibhuti katori. In that, lot of vibhuti is kept. Just before going out, they take little vibhuti, put it, so that people know that you have taken bath. You don't have to take. It's a makeup, masculine makeup. So, when we were going, that day, that katori was not there with the vibhuti or the ash. And the husband got angry. Where it has gone? I had to go out. So wife said, I don't know, somebody must have taken it somewhere, I don't know. Then I found that now it's going to be 9/11. So the only way is to cool it down. So I said, look here, you want vibhuti, come. And there was one statue of Ganesha, not Ganesha, Nataraj, dancing. I said, come here. On any part of Nataraj, suppose this is the hand of the Nataraj, you take like this. This lot of vibhuti, put it over here and go ahead. And you ask that person, you purchase it with such a great taste, how many times you have touched it or cleaned it? As we grow, our involvement in the world starts reducing automatically. Then we turn to the third pursuit in life. So neither artha nor kam can give us fulfillment. Then we come to the third called as the dharma purushartha, wherein we start thinking in terms of life hereafter. See? And then the questions come. Swamiji, is there any hell? As if I have come back from there. I don't know. No, people say there is hell. People say there is a heaven. See? So we get involved into sin and merit as the basic principle of lifestyle. Don't do this like this, you will incur sin. Do like this, you will get the punya, you will go to heavens. See, friends, up to here, we continue to exist in the relative world. And there is no freedom. Be very attentive. Vedanta talks about freedom from I, not freedom for I. This is the basic difference in Dharma Shastra, Yoga Shastra, Bhakti Shastra, and all other religions. They talk about freedom for I. I cannot be liberated because Mr. I is the bondage. We have to discover freedom from I. And this is the ultimate purpose of life. That is called as Parama Purushartha, Moksha, liberation, freedom. See, friend, this is the ultimate in human existence. All other things we have been doing in various ways. Therefore, now let us understand what really we mean by this moksha, nirvana, freedom, God realization, etc. Now first, are we even aware that we are in bondage? See, we are not even aware that we are in bondage. So the first step is, like Kathopanishad, Nachiket tells his father. The father, out of anger, shouts at the son because the father has done something wrong. Ushan havai vanishravasah sarva vedasam dadau tasyaha nachiketa nama putra asa tagamha kumaragam santam dakshinasu niyamanasu shraddha avivesha saha amanyata. These two mantras tell there was a great Dharmatma, a very religious and very noble man, and he has divided his wealth in terms of cattle. Some part was given to his wife, the best part was given to his son, and dilapidated cows which were due to die, that number of cows he kept for himself. And then he conducted the great charity show, fundraiser, great charity show. And in that he was distributing this dilapidated, dying cattle as a charity, donation, danam. When this was done, Nachiket saw this is wrong. If we have to give something to somebody, it should be useful, not a problem. See? And therefore, he was very much pained. Shraddha avivesha. But he was a positive thinker. When we think with faith, we are creative. When we think without faith, we are destructive. So he started thinking in a creative manner. Then he said, how can I help my dad? And then he asked, Dvitiyam, Tritiyam, O father, he asked twice, thrice, to whom shall you give me? Kasmai mam dadasiti. To whom you will give me? The father heard once, twice, thrice and got angry. Mrityavetva dadamiti. To the death I shall give you. See? Anger. Those people who are following dharma, karma kanda, they have got tremendous anger. Everything they want the way it should happen, nothing else. And therefore, in this, when the son is going to the Lord Death, then the father feels, no, beta, don't go. I just said out of anger, I don't mean it. That time the son says, Dad, you are committing mistakes after mistakes. You have committed, you have taken the sankalpa. So whatever you say, you have to do that. And as regard my dying is concerned, beautiful statement he says, Sasyamiva martyaha pachyate, sasyamiva jayate punah. Like the grass we grow and like the grass we perish. We all know our parents. Some of us know grandparents. Few of us know great grandparents. Fourth generation beyond. We don't even suspect that there was somebody. The same is going to happen with you and me. But we feel, aha, we are here for eternity. See, friends, when this line of thinking takes possession, then we are no more interested in going to hell and heaven. Then our inquiry begins in a different direction. And this is what Bhagavan Sri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita towards the end. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. First of all, find out. If you have to give up anything in this world, find out what is yours that you can give away. Like, this beautiful temple and this mic system, and I say, I have given up the mic system. What right I have to give up something which doesn't belong to me? Now find out what is that which belongs to us in this world. Start from our own gross body. Gross body is not created by us. It doesn't listen to us. Who wants to become ill? But a gross body doesn't listen. It will take its own course. There are some people who are huge, their only goal of life is to lose weight. They lose peace of mind. Weight goes on increasing. See? And they do every kind of dieting. But the moment they look at the ice cream advertisement, they put on 5 kilo. No time. The extreme other one, there are some people who are agarbatti bread. Even if they eat the whole live buffalo, they continue to be agarbatti. Our body is not created by us. Our body doesn't listen to us. And yet, I am the body. Friends, nobody says, I am the body. But everybody lives as the body, by the body, for the body, on everybody. If we watch our own life, what we have done? Only feeding and maintaining the body, converting the nice food into terrible garbage, nothing else. If you die and go, God will ask, hey, I sent you as a human being. What did you do? No doubt. I consume 20 truckloads of rice. I am from South India. Second thing, I have consumed 60 tankers of milk. I am from Punjab. Then third, I have consumed 3 tons of sugar. I am from Gujarat. Gujaratis, they add sugar on the good before eating. Everywhere they have to add sugar. In this manner, what we have done really in life is nothing. That cannot be the purpose of our life. Ahara, Nidra, Bhaya, Maithunancha, 4 things are common between human beings and the animals. Eating, sleeping, all the time concern about one's security, and Maithunancha, procreation. If these are the only 4 things we have done in our life, we have no right to call ourselves as human being. The Lord will say, my dear, it is not your fault. It is my fault that I made you human being. Therefore, I will correct my fault. In the next life, you will be born as a pig. Think, friends. This cannot be the purpose of our life. Purpose of our life is discovery of the self. In Bhagavad Mahapuran, very beautiful thought comes. Plants are called as padapa. They eat from below and grow upwards vertically. The animals eat front and grow backward horizontally. human beings eat above and grow downwards. Now, in this sequence, what is the next step possible? See the sequence? Again, we have to revert back to the animal life. So, as regard the morphological evolution is concerned, as human beings, we have attained perfection. Now, from here onward, it cannot be perfection at the level of body. It has to be discovery of ourselves. See, the other day somebody gave me one book to read, and the book is Tapasviji. There was a great Hatha Yogi, and he lived for 180 years. He was born in 1755 in Patiala. The whole story goes, I won't tell you that. And during his spiritual practice, he learned Kaya Kalpa. Kaya Kalpa means you can change your all body and again remain fresh as if day-old chick. So he did it 3-4 times. And he was responsible for doing Kaya Kalpa of Madan Mohan Malviya, who was the founder of the Banaras Hindu University. And Madan Mohan Malviya ji also asked Mahatma Gandhi, why don't you do? He said, I don't want, enough, this is enough. See? Simply living long life can never give fulfillment in life. Another story is not just a story, the facts. Before Christ, 700 years, there was a great yogi. His name was Changdev. He lived for 1400 years. And when he heard the glory and the name of Sant Gyaneshwar, so he thought of writing him a letter. And he took paper and pen. Then the question came, what to write? Should I write as we address to our child Chiranjeev? Or should I write as we address to our elder Tirtharoop? What should I write? He was so confused, he could not even write an address. Finally, he sent a blank paper. On that blank paper, that great master, Sant Gyaneshwar, he was that time 18 years of age, and he could not even imagine what to write to this young boy. So this Sant Gyaneshwar wrote Tattvamasi Mahavakya Upadesh. And after that, this great yogi came riding on a tiger, keeping the snake as a whip in his hand, all the wild animals walking with him, with that all growly, controlling the matter, controlling the Prakriti. This is all. And when this happened, Sant Gyaneshwar was sitting on a wall, mud wall. He told that mud wall, come on, let's go and receive him. The mud wall started walking. These are not stories, friends, these are facts. And then that great yogi who lived for 1400 years, he came to the feet of Sant Gyaneshwar and tells, please accept me as your disciple. He said, sorry, I cannot. I am not your guru. Go to my sister. His sister was 10 years of age. She initiated him into this knowledge. Freedom from body identification and freedom from the notion of I am a soul in a body. This is the real freedom, friends. And that is the purpose of our life. And this is possible only if we go step by step. Number one, we have to discover freedom from body identification. It doesn't mean we have to kill our body. You work on it. What is the meaning of being other than the body? Work on this. Then we will come to know, when I take myself to be the body, then only the secondary eyes are born. After I get identified with the gross body, then I become mother, father, brother, sister, husband, wife, etc., etc. And who suffers in life? These secondary, illusory, virtual eyes, they suffer. See, man never suffers. Husband is never happy. And when the husband is born, after the body identification. So till such time, body identification is maintained, there is no freedom. We can never fulfill the purpose of our life. See, friends, and when we work on this, the net result is Bhagwan Sri Krishna talks in Bhagavad Gita about God realization or freedom from the relative existence. In a simple verse, he says, Jitatmanaha prashantasya paramatma samahitaha shitoshna sukha dukkheshu tatha manapa manayoho. First step or first requirement or first thing that happens, Shita Ushna Sukhadukkeshu Jitatmanaha, when the opposites come and dash against us, sometimes joy, sometimes sorrows, sometimes comfort, sometimes discomfort, when they come and dash against us, Jitatmanaha, the equanimity of the mind remains untouched. Then we are really free. Second thing, Manapamanayoho Prashantasya. Honor and dishonor do not touch us. When these two things happen, then we have attained real fulfillment of our life. See how small little things are able to upset us. And this is only because we are identified with the body. So unless we become aware of this, the real bondage is identification with the body, not the body. You and me function as the body. Wise people function as consciousness through the body. See, the other day in somebody's house, the boy came on his motorcycle, huge motorcycle, and that boy is like, cloth without the contents, only worse than agarbatti. If somebody does, he will fly away, so useless. And he sat under motorcycle and came, tang, 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 parked it wrongly, came inside the house. Some car came. So he told the servant, remove it, put it in a proper place. Now the servant is very strong, very big. But he could not handle that motorcycle. And 2 times he fell down. Now see, this thin boy, he was functioning through the motorcycle. And this heavy, hefty person, he had no control over the motorcycle. So bodily he was heavy, but he was not able to manage. Exactly this way. The wise people manage to live through the body without getting identified with the body. First step. Then we have attained real freedom in life. Number 2. Hereafter, play spiritual life. Don't do spirituality. See, many of us suffer only because of this disease of doing. All spiritual life is undoing. Meditation is never done. Those who do meditation, they suffer throughout life. Don't do meditation. Let meditation happen. See, take your daily example. When we go to sleep, what exactly happens? First of all, we withdraw from the world, close the windows door, switch on the alarm, and then get inside our room. Windows, everything is closed, and light switch off, and then cover ourselves with a quilt, and then the last japa goes on. I want to sleep, I want to sleep, I want to sleep. And when I and the want, both of them disappear, then the sleep begins. See, till such time, I is there and want is there, sleep has not begun. Exactly the same way, Till such time, I want to do meditation. I want to do meditation. Till such time, I and want is there. Meditation will not happen. All spiritual practice is undoing. It is not doing. We have done sufficiently. It is not becoming, it is unbecoming. See, friends. And therefore, when we thus start playing meditation, when we start playing spiritual life, now how do we play? If I am not body, exactly what will be the impact of this experience? See? Now, analyze your own experiences. In deep sleep, we are not identified with the body. That time, what is our experience? Presence or absence of things and beings makes no difference to us. Because we are not identified with the body. Number two, the sense of otherness is not valid. Number three, there is no desire. Number four, we are Mr. Nobody. Now apply these four principles in your waking experience. Live in the waking experience as nobody. Do not carry the burden of desires. Do not have the sense of otherness as real. Love everyone, accept everyone as he or she is. And then you will see. Life is such a simple glide like fish to the water. There is no struggle. Then we are living through the body and no more living as the body. This is what will happen. Now the second thing. This waking world comes into existence and it becomes real only when we are identified with the body. See, every 2-3 days I change my place. So, different places I go and sleep. Therefore, when I sleep, I always keep the lights on. Because I don't know where I am. We sat in the bathroom, we sat in the kitchen and all that. Where it happened in North Carolina. I got up at night to go to the bathroom and I couldn't understand where I am. Because in the deep sleep, you go beyond time, space, object, place. Everything is erased. And when I got up and I dashed against something and the alarm got set in and bang, 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 everything was in chaos. See? Therefore, in the deep sleep, we are nowhere. But we are. We are not absent. Therefore, this waking world comes into existence after we are identified with the body. If we are not identified with the body, waking world has zero value. See, friends, one day one person asked me this question. Swamiji, why don't you have some ashram? You should have some ashram at least to stay in your old age. Then I asked that Mahatma, Maharaji, whose ashram is this? Of course, Swamiji, this is your ashram. Then why should I have? It's already there. No, but even then we should have your own. Then I asked him, where is your Rama's Ayodhya? Where is your Krishna's Dwarka? Where is? Do you think this bricks and the mortar structure are going to remain here eternally? But we feel, I have done this thing, I have built this thing. So many have come and erased. And what we have achieved in life? Nothing. Therefore, the real purpose of life is to discover our correct identity. Thereafter, play the game of life, cheerfully and happily, rather than carrying the load of the body as a donkey. See, friends, it is only for this purpose that our scriptures tell all the miseries that you have in your life because of your karma in the last life. Then if you don't behave properly, in the next life you will suffer more. And we take this blindly, try to understand the purport of the statement. It is not to tell us that we die and we are born. That is not the purpose. The purpose is stop blaming the world. Be responsible squarely for your life. And therefore, if something wrong is happening in your life, nobody is responsible. It is you who are responsible. But I have not done anything bad. May not be in this life, in the last life. Oh, but I don't remember. Never mind. The divine computer never deletes anything. It is recorded there. Now be attentive. And we take this. I was born, then I grew, and then I die. Again I will be born. See? You must have read, many of you, one book written by a Catholic psychiatrist. And the book's name is Many Master, Many Lives. Many people must have read it. Yes. And in that book, it is the psychiatric history of a patient whose name is Catherine. And there it is said, she was born and she died and all kinds of things. Now be attentive. I was there in the last life where I did lot of mischief. As a result, in this life, I am suffering because of my wife. And in this life, I don't behave properly with her. So in the next life, again she will come and again torture me. This is the story. Now what is the meaning of this thing? The meaning is, earlier I was, now I am, later I will be. So where did I die? When I was born. Before coming to Allentown, I was in Raleigh, Cary. Before going there, I was in Yogaville in Virginia. Before going there, I was in Washington. Before going there, I was in London. Before going there, I was in Finland. Before that, I was in Norway. Where did I die? Death is an impossibility. This is real freedom. Nobody has the experience of birth. Nobody has the experience of growth. Nobody has the experience of death. And nobody has the experience of one's absence. And yet, blindly we follow. I am very much afraid. Now I should not die. Try to die is impossible. And all those people who are miserable because of death, they are selfish, nothing else. One example I'll give you. This happened in Bombay. A young police officer in his, maybe early 40s. He had a very beautiful wife, 3 children. And the whole family was very close to me. And the eldest daughter was, she just got admission in medical college, extremely intelligent. 99% marks she got. So without any criteria, she got admission. Then the 2 children, the son was in class 10 and the youngest daughter was in class 4 or 5. One morning he came from his, he had a hotel business. He came from his hotel. In the morning at 4 o'clock, he got out of the auto rickshaw. Before entering the house, right in front of the house, he fell on his face and massive heart attack and died. 4 o'clock in the morning. So when people go for a walk and all that, they say, oh, what is happening? He looks a nice person. He can't be a drunkard and all that. So when they found that he is the owner of the house, and all chaos you can understand. So when I went to talk to that child and all that, he was so angry with me. Swamiji, Papa always believed in you, and this is what you have done. Look here. I didn't kill his father. Very angry. I listened all kind of abuses. Then I said, I'll come again later. Now I had to go somewhere. And I went. After 1 month or so, I went and talked to him. He was cooled down. I said, now I'll answer your questions. You know why you are miserable? You are miserable because now what will happen to us? You are not having the thought of your father. Your concern is, who will look after mom? Who will look after our education? What will happen to us? That is your concern. You are selfish thinking. I said, why don't you look at the same event in a different manner? You will always remember your father as a young police officer, not an old dilapidator living because not able to die. See, he is promoted. He has gone for some higher purpose of life. When I told him, he said, Swamiji, this is something great. Yes, I can never think of my father being old and lying in the bed miserably. Think, friends, if we have to think about Mahatma Gandhi, what is the picture comes before our mind? Young Mahatma Gandhi with a tennis racket in the hand? Old dilapidated structure, without clothes, with a stick in the hand, bent in front, and all the bones coming out. That is what Mahatma Gandhi comes in front of us. If we think about Vivekananda, what picture comes? A strong, healthy young man standing with confidence. See, friends, we are extremely selfish, and therefore this death, etc., makes us miserable. Come to discover, never we were born, nor we change. Nobody had the experience that we are growing. That is why many old elderly people say like this thing. I mean, I never feel I am old. That is a tragedy. With the old body and young mind, it becomes terrible. See? And why we don't feel we are grown up? Because time is a baby of mind. And therefore, time cannot influence mind. See, friends, the more you reflect on this, you come to know that we cannot be the body, then we are someone other than the body. Now, someone other than the body is technically labeled in our scriptures as Jiva or the soul, S-O-L-E. One per shoe. And it is here we go the wrong way. See, friends, on the path of karma or dharma, on the path of yoga, on the path of devotion, and all other religions, they play with us because of this error that we are accepting as real. Be very, very attentive. All your understanding you had till date, it will be smashed. Be courageous to accept. See, in Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, Idam shariram kaunteya kshetramittya vidhiyate etad yo vetitam prahuhu kshetrajna iti tadvidaha kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. Hey Arjun, body is a field. The embodied is the knower of the field. What will be our understanding? Oh, understood. As many shoes, so many souls. Similarly, as many bodies, so many souls. Very simple mathematics. See? But what Bhagavan said? Kshetrajnam mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. Arjuna, there is not one soul per head. But I am alone, expressing through everything and being. See, the Sanskrit word for the soul is jiva, and the Sanskrit word for life is jivana. Na means not. Jiva is not. It is life. There is no individuality. Technically speaking, we are abhivyakti. We are not vyakti. Abhivyakti is manifestation. Vyakti is individuality. Now to understand, take today's example. There are how many? About 30 lights in the ceiling. They are many. The lights are many. But the bulbs may be many, but the principle of light is common. See, the manyness appears because of the manyness of the bulbs. Light is common. In the same manner, body-wise, we are many. Life-wise, we are one. See? And therefore, we have everything common. Nothing is new. Nothing is separate. The diseases are common. The anatomy is common. The physiology is common. The confusions are common. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, modifications of the mind, they are common. What is the difference between you and me? What is the difference between this light and that light? No difference. See, friends, we are not jiva or the soul. We are the life. See, friends, he who is living as life, the quality is different. And he who is living as an individual, jiva, soul, the quality is different. One example will make it clear. You all must have heard the name of Shirdi Sai Baba. I am a great fan of Shirdi Sai Baba. In his book, Pothi as they call, there is one story, and that story has really touched my heart. There was one of his devotee, her name was Lakshmi, and she was a farmer, a poor lady or a girl. So evening, he was sitting in his masjid, Dwarka Mai, and she came from her work, washed her hands and all that, came to Baba, did namaskar, and wanted to sit with him. So he said, Amma, I am very, very hungry, give me something to eat, I am terribly hungry. She could not even sit down, rushed home, prepared chapati and some kind of curry or whatever, and brought it to be given to the master. He did not take one bite. He took the whole plate and gave it to a dog who was standing nearby, and the dog started enjoying the food with the tail hanging. I'm very hungry. And this girl, she became angry. You told me you are hungry and you made me run and get it, and you are giving it to the dog. That time the great master said, Amma, the principle of hunger is common. Hunger of a rich man and hunger of a poor man. Satisfaction of hunger by eating sumptuous meals, and satisfaction of hunger by eating the worms from the ground by a bird. The satisfaction is common. It is not different. Because life is common. See, once we recognize life as a principle and not as a personality, then alone we have really discovered freedom and the purpose of life. Life again, life means jivan. The purpose of life is to manifest fullness, completeness. And we all experience that in very small tidbits. See, every father tries to live his childhood through his own children again. Back home, when we were there, we hardly had any money, We were very poor. Britishers were ruling us, and but now I came here, I got a lot of money. So whatever my desires remained unfulfilled as a child, I tried to fulfill those desires through my children. Because for the parents, children are nothing but their own extension. The wise man who has come to discover his essential nature, for him there is nobody other. See, Atma upammena sarvatra samam pashyati Arjuna sukham va yadi va dukkham sa yogi paramo mataha. 6th chapter Bhagavan says, who is the supreme deluxe yogi? Sa yogi paramo mataha. Who is he? Not the one who can sit in a particular posture like a stone, Jada Samadhi. No. Not the one who can walk on the waters. See? Not the one who can fly in the air. You become a mosquito, freely you will fly. That cannot be the achievement. The real achievement, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, Atmaupammena sarvatra samam pashyati Arjuna. Hey Arjuna, he who is able to look upon the total creation as his own being, and therefore he is happy in the happiness of others, and he is able to extend a helping hand if somebody is suffering. He is a real yogi. And he who has attained this, for him, what is the definition of yoga? See, the yoga of Patanjali is different, and yoga of Bhagavan Krishna is different. Patanjali's yoga is yogaha chitta vritti nirodha. Keep on struggling, biting your teeth and twisting your body. No. Bhagavan Krishna's yoga is tam vidyat dukkha sanyoga viyogam yoga sannitam sa nishchayena yoktavyaha yogaha anirvinna chetasa. When the miseries come in your life, refuse to be miserable. This refusal to be miserable is the attainment of real yoga. See, friends, and therefore, what is the purpose of our life? That because of which we become miserable even temporarily, give it up. And these are the two things. One, body identification, and second one, mistaking ourselves to be the jiva, the soul. Otherwise you will get carried away. That soul has come out after the body dies. Like they call it astral body. Astray body actually. See the body, they comes out of the head. If you are a yogi, the soul comes out of the top. If you are a rogi or a bhogi, comes out from below. And then the soul is searching. Jaun to jaun kahan? And then he gets some kind of place. And then he enters that body. And from there again starts his own tabla and kaval. See, friends, these are all stories. You tell me, when a bulb becomes fused, will the light from the bulb go into another bulb? Because what is light? Light is not individuality. Light is manifestation of electrical energy through a conditioning called as the bulb. It is manifestation, abhivyakti. It is not vyakti. It is not individuality. In all the bulbs, it is the same principle which is manifesting. In the same manner, consciousness expressing through any conditioning. And the conditioning determines what will be the expression. Like electrical energy flowing through the bulb, manifestation is light. The same energy going through the fan, manifestation is creation of the magnetic field and thereafter the movement of the blades. If the gadget is the amplifier, sound is amplified. Because of these differences in the manifestation, is electrical energy different? In the same manner, one conscious principle expressing through different conditionings, expressions are different, but the one which is expressing is common. Like one mind coming out of the eyes is called as vision. The same mind coming out of the ears is called as hearing ability. The same mind coming out of the nose is called as poking ability. We poke our nose everywhere, pokeability. Because of the 5 sense organs and 5 organs of action, are there 10 minds? Mind is one. So the mind has appeared many because of many gadgets fitted to it. Exactly the same way, pure consciousness, gadget, man, beard will come out. Because of that, consciousness is not masculine. The second gadget, donkey. The brain will come out, not a lecture. The third gadget, a cobra. Poison will come out, but consciousness is not poisonous. Fourth gadget, a cow. Milk will come out, but consciousness is not nutritious. It is the same reality. Instead of recognizing that which is expressing, we are lost in the expressions. See, friends, thus real freedom is discovering this truth. Neither the body nor the soul we are. But there is one reality which is expressing through the total creation. So when the gadget is stone, only existence will manifest. When the gadget is plant, existence plus life will manifest. When the gadget fixed to the consciousness is animal, then existence, life and knowledge will manifest. And when the gadget fixed is human being, then existence, life, knowledge and bliss will manifest. Therefore, what will be the purpose of our life? If we consider ourselves to be human being, the purpose is we must be a complete expression of consciousness, and that complete expression is bliss. So this is the only purpose of our life. See, whenever we are disturbed, whenever we are miserable, we have become somebody. Don't become anybody. See the joy of life. And how do we become somebody? By carrying the load of our past. What is the date today? 9th of July? 10th July. Okay. I'll give a mantra to you. If you want, repeat after me. If you don't want, who cares? Keep your hand on your heart, not somebody else's heart, and repeat after me, and then I'll tell you the meaning of this mantra, and see your whole life will change. 10th July 2012. 10th July 2012. 10th July 2012. Yes, now listen. Over. Mantra Diksha is over. From now onwards, don't talk about anything which has happened before this date. Now try to talk. We have nothing to talk. All that we talk is only the dead past. I was there, I was here. I had done this. Who cares, man? Nobody is interested in our past. Please recognize this basic principle of life. Nobody is interested in our past. Everybody is concerned about their future. But we oldies have no future, only past. And therefore carry the load. And wherever we go, open our bundle of the past and start showing. See? One of the tragedies that I have to go through in my life is, if I go to somebody's house and there was some marriage in their family and I was not there for the marriage, so they want me to see the album. Like, Al-Qaeda, like album. And thereafter the tragedy begins. The huge, like a Mahabharata, huge one, they will open it. And then, okay, Mama, I'll see that you prepare food, I'll see. No, you will not understand, I'll explain you. What is there to explain? See, you can torture somebody for food to that extent. See? And then I also start playing. Mama, who is that looking like a kabutar? Swamiji, that is me. Acha, it's you. Drop your past. Start living in the present. You have done highest spiritual practice. See? All the time. जाने कहाँ गए वो दिन बाढ़ में तुम भी जाओ. See, friends, the highest spiritual practice is this. Because what is ego? Ego is nothing but the load of the past that we carry wherever we go. Like we got email, e-credit, e-account. Similarly, ego, it must go. It should not stay with us. And thus, when you start living in the utter present, you have nothing to talk about yourself. See? And those who have nothing to talk about themselves, they don't want to know anything about others. Typical Indian. Anybody they meet, they will take a paper and pen. Let me write your Kundalini. Start. Where are you from? Why you were born? Why don't you die? How many times you married? How many times you got divorced? How many children? Why they are still alive when you are going to die? Arey Ram. What is the need? See? The more you become aware about this, you will start remaining more and more in the present. See? And when we remain in the present, that time we are happy. You cannot be happy yesterday. You cannot be happy tomorrow. Whenever you are happy, you are always happy only in the present. See? And thus, this notion of jiva, the soul, will slowly start disappearing. The one who does not carry the load of the past, he does not worry about the future. Because past and future, they are in relation to each other. Then such a person lives in the present. See, friends, about this I'll tell you one of my experience, far earlier experience. I was going somewhere by train, and one huge structure came and sat and said, "Oh, Swamiji, you are here, I am very happy, now we can talk." I said, "My God, now this fellow is going to eat my head." I never like to entertain any question answer. There is nothing in that. Can complain. That's it. So I thought, how to protect myself now? Like, the terrorists take out the gun. In the same manner, I took out my rosary. And I told, "Look here, I do japa, okay? So I will not talk, don't mind. You please tell about yourself." This is the simplest way to make any old man happy. Ask them about their life and don't listen. Never mind. They will keep on talking. Because that is what they want, somebody to listen to. So he started. My grandfather used to be in Baghdad. That means I had to now listen 3 generation stories. And he started, and whenever he used to be little low in his inspiration, I used to give him inspiration. Acha, then what happened? And again he will start. And like that went on and on and on and on. And then I came in this train and I saw you, I was so happy. Then what happened? Then you asked me about me. Really? Then what happened? Then what happened? I told about myself. Then what happened? Now I am regretting why did I talk. The moment you come in the utter present, you have nothing to talk. That is real mauna. Mauna is not keeping the mouth shut. That is not mauna. That is suffering. It is not mauna. Bhagavad Gita defines mauna. Mana prasada saumyatvam. Maunam atma vinigraha. Mauna, silence, is the discipline of mind, not of the speech. But these so-called Mauni Babas, they will always have paper and pencil with them, and when somebody comes, get me a cup of tea. You give a cup of tea. No sugar. What about milk? Maunam, cartoon of Maunam. See, once I went somewhere, in some place, name and place I won't tell you. And when I went, I was told by the his secretary or somebody, no, Maharaj is in Maunam. I said, okay, bye. I went away. When I was on the road, this happened in Haridwar, that man came running after me. Swamiji, wait. I said, what happened? No, Maharaj ji has sent a message for you. I said, but he is in Maunam, how can he send a message? No, he sent me a slip. So he shows, please come. So I went there, sat. Then he doesn't know me, I don't know him. So he said, what is your name? Now I can talk, I was not in Maunam, But when he wrote, I also wrote. My name is Swami Anubhavananda. Okay. Then he asked, where from you have come? So I wrote, I came from Vrindavan. So he was writing, I was writing. He was in Maunam, I was talking, But I don't know why I started writing only. And finally, he could not hold, he laughed loudly. What Maunam? The real Mauna is stop talking to yourself. Try that. Stop talking to yourself. That is real Mauna. See? We are all the time talking to ourselves. And when we talk to ourselves, we call ourselves to be sentimental. When we talk to ourselves, others cannot hear it. It is being sentimental. When we talk to ourselves and others also can listen, it is called as mental. So sentimental is a preparation to ultimately become mental. All of us ultimately become mental. See, friends, therefore, when we thus start remaining in the utter present, this I, the individuality, the jiva disappears. There is neither last birth nor next life. Only today is the truth. Atmopanishad, Mandukyopanishad, Avadhutopanishad, and Ashtavakra Gita, in many places, one mantra comes. Na nirodho na cha utpatti, na baddho na cha sadhakaha, na mumukshurva nai muktaha, ittesha paramarthata. The spiritual attainment is looking at the world as God is looking at His creation. The spiritual attainment is, the real freedom is, the purpose of our life is only change your angle of perception. See? Like this camera. If the camera is at lower angle, I will look tall. If the camera is at the ceiling level, I will look short. What will be the correct angle? When the angle is at the eye level. Exactly the same way. How are we looking at this world? From which angle? From the angle of relativity? There can be no solution to any problem in the relative world. There is not possibility. These things which are happening today were always happening. There is nothing new in this world has ever happened. See, friends. So what is to be done? Let us understand these four angles. Then the purpose of our life will be fulfilled. Through an example of water, ocean and the waves. A wave looking at another wave. I looking at you. What will be our world? I versus you. See? And then competition, jealousy, anger, greed, frustration, bitterness, friendship, enmity. This will be our world because I versus you. First stage of our life. Second stage, we get out of it. Now the wave is looking at the ocean. So we are looking at the Lord. Wave does not have anger, frustration, greed, competition, jealousy with the ocean. Then wave has only one thing, surrender to the ocean. Here is the path of devotion. See, simply we say, Jehi vidhi rakhe Ram, tehi vidhi rahiye. Only saying. But how many ifs and buts? So the second vision is, live in this world as His creation. Will any picture fight with the own painter? See, friends, we have no complaints. A devotee is the one. He has no complaints, he has no fear, and he lives cheerfully as a child is cheerful in the lap of a mother. Those who claim to be devotees and worried, they are insulting devotion. Second vision. Third vision. The ocean is looking at the waves. Like the parents are looking at the children. And when the children fight on small little issues, what is the interaction of the parents? They enjoy. See how nicely they are fighting. See? They don't become miserable and they don't have any biasness. This is a better child, that is a bad child. No, for the parents, every child is same. Like for the ocean, whether it is tsunami, Katrina or a ripple, it is same thing, no difference. This is the third vision wherein all the great masters live. All the great masters live in this world like the ocean who is supporting all the waves and yet not getting influenced by any wave. And the last ultimate vision is the vision of Vedanta. From the point of view of the water, there is neither ocean the cause nor waves the effect. From the water's point of view, ocean doesn't exist. From the water's point of view, waves do not exist. Because the water is not afraid of getting drowned in the ocean, nor it is afraid of breaking into pieces when the waves break. Because from the water's point of view, cause and effect is an illusion. Therefore, what is the ultimate now? See, what is the purpose of life? Go beyond cause and effect. Bhagavan Shankaracharya writes in Dakshinamurti Stotra, Vishwam pashyati karya karanataya swaswami sambandhatah शिष्याचार्यतया तथैव पितृपुत्राद्यात्मना भेदतः स्वप्ने जागृतिवाय एष पुरुषः माया परिभ्रामितः तस्मै श्री गुरुमूर्तये नम इदं श्री दक्षिणामूर्तये. विश्वम कार्य कारणतया पश्यति. The world comes into existence when cause and effect is taken as real. And thereafter, the whole world is born. What is the world? Swaswami sambandhataha. I am the boss, you are the subordinate. Shishyacharyataya. I am the guru, you are the disciple. Pitru putra adhyatmana. I am the father, you are the child. And the samsara begins. See, friends. To our children, we only give body. The embodied soul is not created by parents. Learn that the children are born through us. They are not born to us. The fulfillment of parentage is when the children are small, growing, when they have become 19, thereafter, let their wings open and let them fly in the sky. Don't become miserable and hang around them all the time. There is much more to be achieved in life. See, friends, this ultimate vision is the only purpose of our life. Let us discover this and be the source of happiness and joy for everyone around us. Don't we like when somebody is happy? If somebody is happy, we like. What will be the joy when we are happy? Therefore, the purpose of life is to discover that we don't seek happiness, but we distribute happiness. And we can distribute only if we are discovered. If I have got peanuts in my pocket, I can't distribute chocolates. I can give only peanuts. In the same manner, if I have not discovered bliss, I cannot distribute happiness. This is the only purpose of our life. Let us fulfill it and make him happy. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnahat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.